Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back for another Married to Medicine Season 10 review. Y'all, I have mixed feelings about this episode. I really don't know where I'm at as far as Quad is concerned because I kind of feel like both sets of complaints are valid. But I might be leaning with the other ladies. I just don't know. Okay, so what makes Married to Medicine so good is the fact that we know that a lot of these relationships are real. They don't hang out just because of the show. They hang out because they've actually already were friends or they've become friends through the show. We see this on their social media accounts because they are very much so a part of real aspects of each other's lives with or without the cameras. And I love that. But something with Quad is not gelling any longer with this group. And I feel like in one way she's kind of being iced out, much like how Mariah was iced out. Okay. I love that this show shows these women actually working, and that's how everything began. So the episode began seeing all the different women in their various roles of work. We then see that the OG ladies meet up. So that's Jackie, Heavenly, Simone, and Toya. They're there for the first time in years, just sitting down to talk. They're talking not only about this trip, in my opinion, but basically on what they were going to do with Quad. They discuss the Napa trip that Toya has planned. She says that she doesn't think that Quad should go because it's for her business and she wants it to be a positive experience. And she feels like if Quad goes, that it can go south. She doesn't feel like Quad has really apologized to anyone. That's because she didn't, and she feels like she's owed an apology. Simone says that Quad has not accepted responsibility for the things that she's done. Toya feels like it's been 10 years of her trying with a relationship with Quad, and it just seems to keep failing. We then have Heavenly, who, even though Heavenly and her dynamic is kind of off to me, because Heavenly always talks about how she's like a sister to her, and if she needs anything, she can come to her. But sometimes the things that Heavenly does and says makes me wonder, like, what that relationship is like off camera. But she says, look, I'm here for her. She'll always be a sister to me. But I'm starting to notice that Quad doesn't need me to be there unless she needs me or she needs us. Like, she isn't really checking for us. Toya says, okay, how about this? We'll say that she can come, but she needs to come into this trip from a genuine place. And based on how she is with this trip, then we can determine what happens from here on out. They all agree and they say that she should come with Phaedra since filming, that's how she's been surfacing in the group is through Phaedra. All right. We then have Heavenly. Heavenly wants to take Alora to college visits within the state. We see Alora come down with a blanket on, and I thought it was strange that she had such a big comforter on in the kitchen, but apparently she was covering up something under that comforter. Heavenly said that she's done everything to keep Alora in the area, to stay close to her because Alora is her little best friend. Now, we then see Alora drop the blanket and she's wearing FAMU apparel. And Alora lets Heavenly know that she got accepted to this college. Now, we know this is also her mother's alma mater. She talks about how she's not following in her mother's footsteps, but she kind of is, because not only is she going to her mother's school, but she's studying biology much like her mother did. And I think that she wants to be a dentist like Heavenly too. She says overall, Heavenly does, that she has to admit that it is an awesome college and she's very proud of her, and she's going to stand by her and support what she wants. We then have Simone. We see Simone and Cecil, and they're taking their sons, Michael and Miles, to look at a possible condo that they're purchasing. This property is $324,000. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, what Simone is calling an investment property, and Michael is ecstatic about it. Simone says, look, if this is going to happen, this is what you all have to understand. You will be signing a contract, and I'm expecting you to sign this. There will be no overnight guests for longer than 2 days. And she's mainly talking about females, but no overnight guests for longer than 2 days. And if they exceed 2 days in a row, then they owe her rent. She said that all disagreements with the roommates will go through the mediator, which is going to be Cecil. And Cecil disagrees with it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. But as much as those boys call him, he's going to be the mediator. She says she doesn't want to see nasty bedrooms or a nasty kitchen. She says that Miles gets to live there for 1 year rent-free, and Michael can live there for 2 years rent-free. And I think that this is dope. I feel like that is an awesome gift to give to your kids. And if these boys are smart, what they'll do is they'll find jobs, even if they're still going to school. They'll find jobs, stack up some of that money, so when they have to start paying their parents some form of rent, or if they have to move out, they can have a little bit of a nest egg. We then see Toya. Toya's getting ready for this trip. Eugene is proud of her new business venture. He wants the focus to be on Toya and her business and brand. And he says that having Quad there isn't good. One insult and it's just going to blow up. And he doesn't trust her interaction with the group. She said that she's just expecting for there to be some form of meaningful apology. We then have the next day, we see the ladies get on a flight, and we have all the ladies there at that point, with the exception of Jackie, Phaedra, and Quad. We see them in the van. We find out that Jackie and Phaedra will be arriving later on than Quad. So this is Tisha's first time in California. Simone talks about, wow, we've been there for a lot of monumental moments for you. First your wedding and now this. Heavenly then brings up, I wanted to be a part of your special day. I wanted to be a part of your wedding, which then turns into a lot of back and forth and her saying that little girls and old men don't mesh and her man is old as dirt and etc., etc. The ladies cut it off, and next thing you know, with the help of Toya and Simone, we see that Heavenly apologizes to Tisha, saying that, I'm sorry if I said something that bothered you. Tisha says, it's okay. I'm just not going to confide in you anymore about Gregory. And that's what makes the most sense for now. But I think that over time, she will confide in some other people and we're going to hear some other things. We see the ladies arrive at the hotel where they toast to a wonderful vacation, and the area that they're in seems beautiful. Now we hear that Jackie and Heavenly are going to share a big suite. Simone and Toya are going to share another big suite, and all the other ladies have their own rooms with the exception of Quad, because Toya, even though she knew she was coming, forgot to get her a room. This is where I'm like, okay, this is going to be messy, because you knew that that girl was coming. You purposely did not get her a room. And the fact that you went into it with that energy makes me feel like you shouldn't have invited her in the first place. And it makes me wonder if this was a production thing. So Toya jokes with Simone and Heavenly and says, would you let Quad stay in your room? And Simone says no. And Dr. Heavenly is like, no, she can't stay in our room. Jackie's going to say no. Not only did Jackie say no when Toya texted her, but Jackie said a no and it had 8 O's. Heavenly said that at this point, anybody who's over 50 years old needs to be in their own room. Dr. Alicia, who for some odd reason Bravo still hasn't officially introduced her to us. Maybe they're waiting for Quad last episode. I don't know. She hasn't officially been introduced to us, but she's going to share a room with Quad per the suggestion of Simone, because she is the newbie, like Phaedra isn't the newbie too. Interesting how Phaedra's held at a different standard, but whatever. I want to know why we haven't been introduced to Dr. Alicia, though. It's really bothering me because we keep seeing her in these scenes, but we're not like really getting to know her family and all that other stuff. We then see all the ladies with the exception of Tisha going bike riding. We find out later on why Tisha didn't go bike riding, but then we see them outside getting a massage. We find out that Tisha did not come bike riding because she was informing Greg about everything that Heavenly said, including that he has worms and he's an old man. When she was like, why did you, I can't remember who it was, if Toya or Simone, one of them said, why would you tell Greg that? And she said, because Heavenly's his dentist. Toya makes a joke about how she would never go to Dr. Heavenly for anything, and neither would her husband and all those other things. But Heavenly is a good dentist, so let's not sit here and act like she's not. We then have Quad. Quad feels like she's on a good path with everyone in the group, and she's happy to be there and to finally, support Toya. I feel like in this moment, Quad was delusional because the way that the last scene with all of them ended, she wasn't on a good page with everybody. Like her energy with Jackie and her, to me, Jackie seemed a little passive aggressive. With her and Toya, we know her and Toya weren't on the right page. And even Simone didn't really seem overly satisfied, but I don't think she realized just how bad of a position she was in with them until later on when they had the dinner. As she walks in the room, the first thing Toya says is, I didn't think she was coming. Toya then tells her, I forgot to get you a room because I didn't think you were coming. And I asked everybody, but they didn't want you to room with them. I know that Toya meant to dig at her at this point because there was no point in saying that. And the fact that Toya did that shows that even though Toya is sitting there talking about what these other women are doing and how they're not being vocal and all these other things, Toya, in this moment, you were trying to be funny too. Why invite her to this situation? It's like she wanted to take pleasure in watching the other ladies confront her because Toya kept pushing and saying things like she even called Simone out and said, like, why are you being so nice to her when you say stuff behind her back? Quad said, if you don't have a room, I can go to a different location. I can get my own. I'm not trying to make anyone uncomfortable. Quad says, Toya, did you put me in a hole or something? Once she gives her the room key, Quad said, this is some crap because everybody was okay with me at the resurrection, but now it's feeling like they're all taking on whatever Toya was feeling. Toya tells her, go ahead and go to your room. And she wanted somebody to escort her, but that's not what happened. Quad walks out and Toya turns and looks at Simone and says, y'all bees love smiling in people's faces and then talk behind their backs. And Simone said, my beef is not Toya's beef. Do I have issues with her, with Quad? Yes, I do, but not to the extent that Toya does. And I know how to be cordial. She said, putting Quad on guard isn't good because you're not going to make the type of progress that you want to make when it's time to talk to her at dinner. I also think talking to her around a whole bunch of people isn't good, but that's not what these ladies do. Jackie and Phaedra arrive. Phaedra, who is the ultimate liar, switched her flight, so she said, because of her kids. Toya says that's not why she switched her flight. It's more to it. She switched it because she didn't want to ride with Quad. So at first I'm like, okay, Toya, you sitting here playing around, but later on we're going to find out that that was true. Jackie says Phaedra is going to cut you off if you don't make her look good. And that event that they had the other day did not make Phaedra look good. That Phaedra was not pleased with the way that Quad conducted herself. It seems like everybody knows this with the exception of Quad, apparently. So we see the ladies arrive for dinner. It's candlelight as well as a live violinist. As different ladies are arriving, Jackie tells the ladies that she is going to be speaking with the Vice President of the United States, that she's an AKA, a fellow AKA, and she's very excited about it, and that she's going to be speaking about Black maternity mortality, which is amazing because it's very important that we are educated more and more about this, because whether or not people want to admit it, there is a vast difference when it comes to healthcare that is provided for minorities, especially African-American women, let's be clear. Quad arrives and the energy immediately changes. She tells Toya that regardless of where we are, I'm proud of you and I'm happy to be on this trip. I don't like how cold they are to her in this moment, because it really felt like we were going back in time, because there was a point where the ladies did not treat Quad well because they just looked at her as the doctor's wife. And I felt some of that same energy resurfacing, but Quad sometimes makes it hard to defend her. So Simone says, everything that you said is great, but I think the elephant in the room is establishing the problem that you have with the OGs. She said that there are times that she just couldn't open up. This is what Quad is saying to them. And she thought that they weren't a safe place, and she thought she would have gotten more support. So Simone says, well, if you feel that way, why keep hanging around a group of women that you don't feel safe with and that you feel like you don't get support from? And we all know that it's for the check. Like, let's be clear. The reason why she tolerates them to the extent that she does is because of the check. Because when she was a part of the sister circle, she very much so started backing off. I also think that her divorce with Greg created some distance, because the wives were still hanging out with Greg, with their husbands, and their husbands were still hanging out with him. So she did have up a wall, and to a certain extent, some of it is warranted. But Quad digs herself in a hole because Quad doesn't admit her faults without pointing out others, okay? So Quad says it's a second chance. If she can clear the slate, meaning like if I can forget all the stuff that y'all have done, I'm hoping that you can forget the stuff that I've done too. She says, I have pulled back, but I just want to be good to you all, and I want you all to be good to me. She says, in this moment, I have to be honest. I don't have an emotional attachment to this group, but I'm trying to get back to it. I respect Quad's honesty, but that statement to me sealed her fate, because I feel like Heavenly was one of the last ones who may have possibly been in her corner. And despite how she's treated her sometimes on the show, she did keep bringing Quad around and keep saying things to make Quad relevant. And that hurt Dr. Heavenly when she said that. So, Heavenly says, my issue with you is I didn't hear from you even after hanging out with you and Phaedra. I spoke with Phaedra, and she told me that she was not going to bring you to this trip. After she told you that she wasn't going to bring you to the trip, that's when I heard from you. So I feel like you're using me and our sisterhood. Heavenly said, I think that Phaedra even changed her flight so she didn't have to ride with you, which we find out is the truth. Phaedra said, I wasn't going to invite you to stuff if you had all of this type of energy with you. Quad said, with all that being said, let's remember how Phaedra got into this group. Heavenly then says, even Jackie said that you're using my ass. We then hear some story about Greg and how Greg said that he dated her until she wanted $4,000 a month and all this other stuff. And Phaedra was like, I didn't date him. And she's like, Tisha, what did Greg say about us dating? He said, did you went on a date before? And Heavenly said, you're a user and I'm sick of your crap. And they kept going back and forth. And Quad, it's time to go, boo. I enjoy watching Quad on the show. In the beginning, I loved Quad. But I think at some point, Quad stopped revealing her life. Quad stopped caring. Quad was just showing up so that she could get a check. And as a result, it created a rift. And now she's where she is. And it seems like they're going to be icing her out. You all let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Please like and subscribe. And until next time.